Investing has become very popular recently, but if we're being honest, there's part of us that's always intrigued by how do you get started investing? We hear already stories about how people became millionaires, became rich over investing, but we also are aware that usually our retirement is tied to investing in some form. Well, since companies are becoming more hesitant to fund our retirement as young adults, we have to start thinking about how to do that ourselves. That's why in this video, we're going to be talking about how to get started investing for beginners. And we're going to go over what you should do when you're getting started. So let's go ahead and get into it. Hello everyone, this is Elijah with Financial Anatomy, giving you the tools to take control of your financial destiny. Here on this channel, we talk about personal finance, investing, side hustles, and ways to make money. And this channel is specifically meant to address the problems of young adults financially. And one big problem is exactly how do you get started investing? Whether you like it or not, you're going to have to get involved in the investing game in some form or fashion. The good news is we live in a time where we have all the tools necessary to do just that. But before you start buying stocks, bonds, insurance products, or maybe hopping into real estate, you actually need to have a plan for how you're going to do all this and what you want out of this. Because when it comes to investing, there are two human emotions that go back and forth that have the potential to get you what you want, or they have the potential to destroy you. And those human emotions are fear and greed. Now, a little of either of these is actually not bad. In fact, it's kind of good. Having a little fear keeps you on edge and keeps you motivated to keep an eye on your investments and make sure they're heading in the right direction. A little bit of greed is necessary to reach your financial goals. If you want to have any kind of goal in life, achieve it that is, you'll need some greed. But when these emotions are in excess, they cause you to make dumb decisions. So you have to get those emotions in check first. Assuming that you already have a handle on those emotions, then you can move forward to actually developing a plan for investing. So we're going to take a page out of Rich Dad's Guide to Investing by Robert Kiyosaki. And in his book, he speaks of 3 plans that you should have if you're going to be an investor. A plan to be secure, a plan to be comfortable, and a plan to be rich. I like to take the plan to be rich out because some people don't actually want to be rich. I'd rather replace that with a plan to be ambitious, and then you define whatever that is. But we're not going to talk about that in this video. We have to develop these plans in some form or fashion. And right off the bat, the first plan you should be taking a look at is a plan to be secure. What does secure mean? This means that your basic minimum monthly expenses are taken care of from your investments only. No other income source. They come strictly from your investments. And no, you don't need to wait till the age of 60 or something to get this in retirement. If you want to, by all means. But you can have this or aim for this before then. And this is a number. Each one of us has this number, and in this video, we're going to talk about how to arrive to that number and what investments are best when it comes to developing a plan to be financially secure. The first thing you want to do is to minimize or eliminate as many debts as you can. It should go without saying, but the only debt that you really want to be planning for is probably a mortgage. And even then, some people are getting aggressive nowadays and trying to pay that off as soon as possible, so it's not in the equation. But any kind of debt like cell phone debt, credit card debt, even a car note, which shouldn't be in your plan to be secure, that should be paid for already. So when we put this plan together, we're not going to include any debts aside from the mortgage. So if you have any outstanding debts, which we all tend to have outstanding debts, we need to have a separate plan to get those paid off before we can really dive into a plan to be secure when it comes to investing. With that being said, we're going to move over to the whiteboard so we can do some math to figure out exactly what that magic number would be for you. In this example, we're going to just pick someone at random and say, let's say John's investment plan to be secure. And we're going to pull national averages based on the expenses that people have. Once we do that, we're going to determine exactly what investments will be best to invest in for a plan to be secure. Remember, this is the first thing you should be looking at when it comes to being a beginner in investing. A lot of people want to hop into all this stuff, but they don't actually have a plan and an outcome that they want. That's what we're going to be talking about in this video. So let's go over to the whiteboard. Okay, so let's go ahead and move over to BitPaper. There we go. And For this plan, we're actually going to use an example. So we're just going to put a name. Let's say John's investment plan to be secure. There we go. So I need y'all to understand exactly what secure means. Your wants aren't in this equation. What is the minimum you need to survive on and the expenses that you'll have? This is a plan for security, and it comes before any of that other stuff that you're probably thinking of when it comes to investments. So with that being the case, we have a few categories that we got to fill out. First off is going to be food, and this is on a monthly basis. So we're going to do this monthly. So how much does the average person spend on groceries per month? So it says for one person, it ranges between $150 and $300. We're going to use $200 for this example. So we're going to put 200. Next up, we're going to look at insurance. So first off, we're going to do the auto insurance. This is going to be subjective based on personal situations, obviously, but we're still going to do averages on auto insurance. So according to NerdWallet, that works out to be an average car insurance rate of $133 per month. We'll go ahead and use them as a source. They're fairly credible. So that's $133 for auto insurance. Next, health insurance. Now this is one that can vary so much. We're still gonna use averages here. So the average monthly cost of health insurance, including employer and employee contributions for an individual in 2018 was $574 per month. That's according to Dave Ramsey's blog. So we're gonna go ahead and use that $574 for an average. Next, we're going to look at our overall bills. Now, starting off, we're going to put our cell phone bill in here. Unless you think you could live without a cell phone, I don't think that's possible in today's age. You let me know if you can pull it off. The average American cell phone for a single user is $70. So we're going to go, and that's according to US Mobile. This one is going to vary, but we're going to assume that you paid your phone off, okay? So we'll go ahead and use the $70 as the blueprint. Next, we have utilities. So how much does the average person pay in utilities? Okay, so according to move.org, utility bills 101 in the US, people who rent apartments should plan to spend around $100 to $150 per month. We found that homeowners should budget closer to $400 a month. That's a wide range, and it depends on if you have a home. We're going to go ahead and use the $400 because most people's ideal, this isn't retirement. Most people's ideal situation is to be in a house, so we should plan for that. So let's go ahead and put in utilities, and we're going to put that at $400. Next is the big enchilada, which is a mortgage. Now you could aim to pay off your mortgage before you retire, but we're gonna assume that it's in the plan because most people that they take out a mortgage, they don't really look to pay it off sooner. Now if you pay it off sooner, that's awesome, and you can take this out of the equation. So according to thebalance.com, the median monthly mortgage payment for US homeowners is $1,100. So we're gonna go, and this is according to the latest American Housing Survey from the US Census Bureau. Let's actually click on this and see how old this is. We want it to be fairly recent. It's written in July of 2020, so we should be good. So we'll use that $1,100. If you have a house, we cannot leave out property taxes. Now this is going to be very subjective according to your state, but this is according to Business Insider, and this was written very, very recently, February 2021. The typical U.S. homeowner pays about $2,375 in property taxes each year. Now we are going to take that number and do some math, because that's on an annual basis. We don't want annual, we want on a monthly basis. So let's go ahead, share the calculator screen, do some math real quick. All right, so 2,375 divided by 12, because it's 12 months in a year. It gives, I'm just gonna round that up to 198. So we're gonna switch back to our bit paper. There we go. All right, so switch back to bit paper, and that gives us 198 for property taxes on a monthly basis. And I'm just gonna put a little miscellaneous in terms of expenses, because little minute things might pop up. Like for instance, you might do some traveling that month and you spend more on gas. So just gonna throw an extra $100 per month as miscellaneous. So we now have all our expenses in place. So it's time to figure out a grand total. And this total is going to play a role in how much we're going to be aiming to make per month in order for us to be secure from our investments. So let's total all this up. We're going to go to the calculator. Let's get rid of that. Now, first up, I'm going to add all the expenses up. So the miscellaneous plus food plus auto insurance plus health insurance plus cell phone bill plus utilities plus mortgage. And keep in mind that you're free to get aggressive when you're younger to pay that mortgage off, and then you could take the mortgage out of the equation altogether. Wouldn't that be sweet? Plus property taxes equals, so that gives us a total of $2,775. Switch back to the Bitly paper and update the total. If you made it this far in the video, I want to give you a thanks, because I know it's very hard to take time from our family, our friends, or just our hobbies and learn a new topic. So you need to give yourself a thumbs up for that alone. And speaking of thumbs up, I'd appreciate it if you give me a thumbs up on this video if you're finding value. Consider subscribing if you're new. Hit that bell notification so you can be notified when I drop part 2 of this investing plan series, and if you want to be notified of other investment videos that I'll make in the future. So let's hop back into the topic. So this is the magic number that we'd have to be making on a monthly basis in order to be secure, right? Well, no, we're not finished yet. We gotta do a little more math to really get a true number on place that we can actually aim for to be making on a monthly basis. That means that the money we make from our investments alone has to be this number to take care of us. We're not at that number yet, but we're almost there. So we're gonna take this number, which is $275, and we're gonna multiply that times 0.05. I'll tell you why in a minute. So we're gonna multiply this times 0.05. That gives us 138. You're gonna find out that I like to round up on things, so I'm just gonna round that up to 139. So we're gonna take 139 that gives us $2,914. Now you might be wondering exactly why did I do that? Well, most people don't actually bake into their investment plan a savings account or an emergency fund. So let's say everything is going pretty smooth and something happens, life happens, just miscellaneous things come up. You need a new transmission, or your car got a flat tire, whatever. Well, if you're not gonna be working anymore, how are you gonna get that money? Do you wanna just hop out there back in the workforce and make the money real quick just to cover something? I don't know about you, but that's not my ideal way of having my investments take care of me. So we need to plan for stuff to eventually happen. And that means you should be taking some of that money and putting it in a savings account. You got to come from somewhere. Might as well come from your investments. It's supposed to be an investment plan to be secure, right? So that's why you take 5% of your overall expenses, like I just did, and add it to the total, and then just put that amount away every month in a savings account. So that way, when something comes up, I'll just pull it from the savings. So you're planning for savings to be in the investment plan. That's why we just did that step. Don't skip it. Now we're actually not done yet. We're gonna bring Bitly Paper back up, and we have one final step. With that intermission being done, now we're gonna talk about exactly what should you invest in if you're investing for a plan to be secure. So we're gonna put over here, stock market. Over here, we'll put real estate. Now, right off the bat, if you're investing for security, you want it to be one of these two things, unless you want to dabble in insurance, but we're not going to go there. That can get complicated real easy. One thing about an investment plan to be secure, it should be as simple and autonomous as possible. Okay? So we're going to start with the stock market. The objective is security, having your money in a place where nothing's going to rock the boat if something happens. Then it's going to be fairly safe, but it's still rising faster than the rate of inflation. And it's still giving you enough money to where you can draw, a lot of people use the 4% rule. You can draw 4% of your portfolio and your principal won't be touched. So what fits that criteria? Index funds, ETFs. I'm not the biggest fan of them, but technically mutual funds do fall in this category. Blue chip stocks. And for those of y'all that don't know what a blue chip stock is, it's basically a stock that's been well established. Usually it's been around for at least 10 years. So if the business has been around for 10 years, it tends to not really go anywhere. That's the basic consensus there. So if you're going to invest in individual stocks, then blue chip stocks is something to consider. Another one is we talked about utilities in our expenses plan, but we talked about utilities in our monthly expenses, but why not be on the other side of that? Why not invest in them? So utility stocks rather, banks, some REITs, start another line, some REITs, and I do specify some. REIT stands for Real Estate Investment Trust. It's a way to invest in real estate through the stock market. There are different kinds of REITs in different industries, but I say some REITs because you want to invest in REITs that are in industries that aren't going anywhere, that's tapped into society. So like the medical industry is a good example. I'm not going to go through all of them because that's not what this video is about, but that's why I say some REITs. And some MLPs, that stands for Master Limited Partnerships. The short version of that is they're responsible for managing oil and selling oil to people. So I know you environmentalists are going to go crazy, but at the end of the day, that industry is not going anywhere anytime soon. So now when it comes to the stock market, you got a few options. Option one is to use that 4% rule that we talked about. And that means that you're going to withdraw 4% of your portfolio every year. The second option is just to withdraw your dividends. Then you got to make sure those total dividends on a monthly basis equal the amount that we're going to talk about in terms of your monthly income from your investments. That one's probably a little more complicated. Most people probably want to go with the 4% rule. Now let's move over to real estate. So we're not going to spend a whole bunch of time on this because there are some things to consider. We're just going to say that cash flow, real estate is the objective, which means you want to be renting properties and the cash flow that's coming from your tenants are paying you. So based on how things go, maybe you just need 3 or 4 properties to hit your investment plan of being secure. But we got to talk about this final step. So a lot of people think we're probably done here, right? No, we know what we want to invest in now based on those diameters. And let me say this also, no cryptocurrency, no small cap stocks. This is an investment plan to be secure, okay? So cryptocurrency hasn't been around that long. The stock market and real estate markets have crashed and rebounded X amount of times throughout history. You can look into it. So you can count on it being there. Cryptocurrency, since it hasn't been around for over 50 years, we don't know what's going to happen. So do you want to bet your plan to be secure on something that's new and hot and it hasn't been proven to stand the test of time, not very financially savvy. So leave cryptocurrency out of this plan. That's more so for a plan to be comfortable where you can afford to take some more risks. Same goes for small cap stocks or any stocks which have a higher risk level. With that being said, the final step is to plan for taxes. We're actually going to come over here. So what I mean by plan for taxes, these stocks, as they appreciate in value, as you have your dividends reinvested, if you're not going to be taking dividends, I forgot to mention this, but in the 4% rule, if you're not taking them on a monthly basis, then you want to have them reinvested back into your portfolio. So basically any gains, dividends included, they're going to be taxed. And I just like to use a long-term capital gains tax rate of 15% because that's the highest that you can get taxed. Now, depending on your tax bracket, your tax rate may be lower. I don't care. I like to overestimate, okay? You look up the tax bracket and use the exact number. But I'm just going to go ahead and use 15%. And if I don't reach the amount to get to 15% in terms of that tax bracket, hey, I just have excessive income. I got no problem with that. So we're going to move over to the calculator. We still have our final number of 2,914. And we are going to take that number and multiply it times 0.15, which is 15%. And that gives us $437. I usually round up, but it's so... No, forget it. I'm just going to stay rounding up. We're just going to round that up to 438. So we're going to take 438 plus $2,914. And that gives us $3,352. Switch over to BitPaper. So for taxes, do $3,352. And for real estate, this is very tricky. I'm not going to put a number here because it really depends on how you handle it and how your CPA advises you to handle it. You can roll over your taxes if you know what you're doing, or you can go ahead and pay taxes, but there are various deductions that you can take. We're not going to get into that because that is a video in itself. Just keep in mind that you do need to calculate taxes in the equation if you are going to be using real estate in your plan to be secure when it comes to investments. And the final number that we're looking at is $3,352. So this is a number that in this example, John would need to reach in order to have an investment plan to be secure on a monthly basis. So as investments, whatever he chooses them to be, need to be giving him that much amount of money for him to be secure and have all his needs met. That includes taxes, and that also includes a little savings plan that he can keep just stacking up savings, because life is going to happen. Just because we decide to retire or stop working, that doesn't mean life isn't going to happen. So that's also put in the plan. So I've given you a way to figure out what do you need from your investments in order to be secure. And before you do anything else, even before you look at investments to start investing in, you do need to figure this one out, because this should be your first investment plan. Everything else should come after the investment plan to be secure. And you want to set this up to be as autonomous as possible. So we've gone over an example of how to develop a plan to be secure, an investment plan to be secure, that is. Obviously, the numbers are going to look different for you, but those categories aren't going to change. You need to find out how much you're spending on your utilities, how much you're spending on certain things. And once you figure out how much each one of them are individually, just follow the process that we outlined in this video, and you'll come up with an investment number that you need to meet on a monthly basis to be secure. And once you're secure, then we can look at a plan to be quote unquote comfortable. But you should always have this investment plan to be secure in mind. Me personally, my investment plan to be secure is as autonomous as possible, and I have that set up via M1 Finance. So I have a portfolio in M1 Finance, and I just have money being drawn into it on a weekly basis. So every Thursday, money goes into that account. It's split up among my investment portfolio, and I move that much closer to my investment plan to be secure. I recommend you set something very similar up, whether it be real estate, the stock market, whatever it is. It should be as autonomous as possible, because you want this to kind of be automatic. You're just living your life. focusing on making money, and then it just kind of happens one day. That way you can just get aggressive with focusing on making money. Then before you know it, you've reached your investment plan to be secure. Then you can move on to an investment plan to be comfortable. Of course, if you do set it up right and your plan to be secure is going to be automatic, then you can actually develop a separate plan for being comfortable, where we can look at more speculative and risky investments and just put it in a different investment portfolio altogether. That's also an option, and we'll talk about that in the next part in the video series. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. Love to hear what you have to say or any stories that you may have. If you found value in this video, give me a thumbs up, much appreciated. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new and hit that bell notification so you can be notified when I come out with another video. And be sure to check out my investment playlist, where I talk about various apps that you can use to invest in. My favorite is M1 Finance, but I made that known in too many videos, so you probably knew that. I'll catch you in the next one. Don't forget to get out there and take control of your financial destiny.